welcome back to Beautiful Success, and today we are talking about salary negotiation. So let's say that you finally got a job offer and you are taking a look at that piece of paper and that salary does not meet your expectations. So what to do next? Negotiate. So in this video, I'll be sharing a little bit on tips and things for you to think about as you negotiate your salary. But first I want you to do is to slow down. Once you get that job offer, let them know that you want to take some time to think about it. You want to take some time to review what they have presented to you. This gives you time to actually set some time aside to make that decision if you want to accept the job offer. And the reason that I'm telling you this is it becomes a high pressure situation. You know, when you're talking with a recruiter and they offer you a job and you just get excited. You're like, oh, this is great. Maybe you've been looking for a job for a very long time, or this is the job that you've been wanting and you finally got the job offer. But it's always in your best interest to slow down and take time to review what you've been presented. This way you have an opportunity to clearly read through everything, all of the details, and truly think about if that job offer is what you're looking for and if it's what you really want. Usually a recruiter is going to say, oh, you have 24 hours, you have 48 hours to kind of think about your job offer. So in the time that they do give you, of course, let them know that you would like to take that opportunity to review. And if they don't, let them know that you still want to take some time to review over everything and to see if you have any questions. Second is for you to do your research. Now, if you have been looking for jobs, searching, applying for different positions, hopefully that you've done in your research a little bit. Once you have applied to an application, you've gone through like the interview process, that you've been looking at different salaries. But if not, a great time to do that is when you do receive a job offer and let's say the salary doesn't meet your expectations. I would recommend you to do some research. So there's a couple of different ways that you can get some information on salaries. So for example, there are websites out there like salary.com or Glassdoor, Indeed. There are general websites out there where you can find salaries on general job titles in different positions. I'll put those in the description box, and you can use those as resources to get a little bit more insight into different positions and what the average salaries look like. Now that's one avenue to get that information. Another way to get that information is if you work for, or if in the past, or if this job offer is for like a public institution or public entity. So like, let's say working for like the state government, working for the city. If your job offer is from like a university, like a public university or college, normally that information can be found online through like a database, and that information is public. So if you do receive a job offer from a public organization, potentially that information can be listed online. So you can always do research and find more information on different positions and their salaries. If your job offer is from like a private company, it's going to be a lot harder to find that information online. So that's when I would recommend just going to kind of those general websites, like I mentioned before, to kind of find a range on typical job positions. Salaries that I would recommend is if you are graduating. So let's say this is a job offer that you receive upon graduating. I would recommend you go back to your college or university's career services office. A lot of times they collect data on students who are graduating in the different industries, the different fields, and specifically the job offers. So they normally capture data on students who are graduating, the job offers, the different companies or organizations they receive job offers from, and the salary as well. So another route is leaning into your career services office or career management office, and see if there are any career counselors who can help you, who can have that conversation with you, and you can share your job offer with them and to kind of talk through, you know, students who have received job offers for that specific position or that specific industry and what those salary ranges look like. I know that when I graduated with my master's, I met with my career counselor, and she was so helpful when I received a job offer, and we kind of talked through those things, and we talked through like negotiating and talked through what those like average salary ranges look like for the particular position that I received a job offer for. Once you do your research and you take a look at those average salaries or the range, I would recommend you have a number in your mind that you are not willing to go below. So if there is a floor, I should say, a low number that you are comfortable with and that you do not want to go under, have that number in mind, okay? Because that, if that number, you go below that number, you know when to walk away. You know, you still want to be able to live comfortably and be okay with walking away. So it's always going to be important to have a low number in mind that you do not want to go under. Now, if you have a higher number that you want to negotiate up to, I would say when negotiating, that's the number that you want to get as close to as you can. So then there's a little bit of wiggle room between that low number that you absolutely do not want to go under and that higher number that you really want. There's some wiggle room in between. So it's always important to kind of think about those aspects before you negotiate. What's the lowest number you're willing to go, and what's your high number, and try to get as close as you can to your high number as you are negotiating. Now, when it is time to have that conversation, I would say, you know, once you have time to think about it, you know, time to do your research, I highly recommend you do negotiate your salary if you can, because you don't want to lose out on money that you could have had if you've actually negotiated, because jobs are always going to have salary ranges and budgets and things like that. So they themselves will have wiggle room, usually. But you don't want to miss out on being able to get more money if you can. So if you don't negotiate, and let's say you're not happy with the salary, you know, just go ahead and have that conversation. You know, it is okay to ask, because guess what? The answer is always going to be no if you don't ask. But if you're happy with the job offer, you're happy with the salary, go right ahead, you know. And if it's best for you, you know, and you feel as if you don't need to negotiate, you don't have to. But if you're unsatisfied, it does not meet your expectations, still take that opportunity to negotiate. So let's say you graciously had the conversation, you tried to negotiate your salary, and there's just no wiggle room. They're unable to meet your salary expectations. So the next thing I would recommend is if there are any benefits that you can negotiate around. So there may be opportunities that you may be able to have added on to your job offer. Some of those things may include training slash educational opportunities. So if there are some things that you could benefit from to continue to do better in your current job or that new role, maybe you can negotiate some things like that. Maybe a mentorship. That's always a really good one. If your job is in person, and let's say you have to physically be in the office in person, and let's say you have to pay for parking, you can negotiate maybe a parking stipend or a parking reimbursement. Maybe childcare reimbursement is another option. Asking for vacation time or being able to work remotely for a specific period of time each week. There's also the opportunity to, let's say, renegotiate again. So let's say within the next 6 months or the next year, you would like to take a look at your salary again, or even a title. So let's say, you're interested in a specific title change or anything like that may be beneficial to you. There's always room to be able to try to negotiate some things like that. So you have options. So don't forget that those are also things that you can be negotiating around to make a job a little bit more attractive to you, so that you're more willing to take on that job opportunity. Okay, from my experience, if you're unsatisfied, if you're not happy with that job offer, there's more opportunities out there. Continue your search, continue to be persistent, and just know the value that you bring and the value that you can provide. So always remember that you don't have to settle. Of course, you can't be unreasonable, and you've done research on different salary ranges and you're just, your number is just out there. And it's not aligned to like the average salaries are out there. Well, of course, you'll struggle a little bit on finding that exact offer or that number that you want. But always remember that if you are being reasonable and you know the value that you can bring, and you're not willing to settle, that is okay. It is okay to not settle. It is okay to continue looking for that next opportunity. If you are willing to accept something, but always want to continue to take that experience, and after 1 or 2 or 3 years look for another opportunity, you're able to do that. But always remember, you don't have to settle. If your expectations are reasonable, and you know that the value that you can bring and the value that you can provide and what you deserve, keep that, keep that in mind, and decide to, continue on looking for that next opportunity or that better opportunity that is out there waiting for you. Because when you get hired into a job, that salary that you received when you when you started at that organization is always going to be there. It's always going to be that baseline. Whenever you are moving around that company or organization and you're getting salary increases little by little here and there, that information is historical. So they're always going to be looking back at your historical salary data and how your salary has increased. So if you didn't get that salary that you wanted in the beginning, and you start working and then you start trying to negotiate, once you move around the organization, it becomes a little bit more harder to be able to do those things, based off of where you've started. And if you have any questions, please feel free to write them in the comment section. I will do my best to answer those questions. A lot of time it's really hard to talk about negotiating salaries, because it ends up becoming situational and there's a lot of different examples and a lot of different factors. So this video has been pretty general, but I'm hoping that it's provided you with a little bit of information that's been helpful to you. If you've enjoyed this content, please feel free to like and subscribe. And always remember to enlighten, uplift, and encourage, and I will see you in the next video.